You know, the human brain is arguably the most complex structure in the known universe. Yet, for decades, we've kind of just treated its aging process as this slow, unavoidable demolition. But what if we could actually become the architects of our own cognitive longevity? Welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled you're here today, because we are unpacking a truly paradigm-shifting concept from a highly specialized training module. The excerpt we're diving into is aptly titled, Architecting the Ageless Mind. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what this source text tells us about preserving our mental sharpness, the biological reality of how we can proactively train our brains, and the deliberate steps we can take to safeguard our cognitive future.
So, let's address the elephant in the room of human biology. Are lost mental abilities inevitable as we grow older? It's a universal thought, right? It's that quiet little worry that pops up when we misplace our keys or completely blank on a familiar name. For the longest time, the narrative we were fed was pretty bleak. As your age goes up, your cognitive function goes down. End of story. But the text we're analyzing today directly confronts that fatalistic fear. It completely reframes brain aging. It's not some lost cause we just have to passively accept. It's a specific structural challenge. And just like any structural challenge in architecture or engineering, it's something we can actively, scientifically prepare for.
That brings us to Section 1. The reality of aging brains and facing lost mental abilities.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source material states, quote, "The participants would be more alert to the lost mental abilities when the ages grow." This is a profoundly important, foundational concept in the text. The module points out that as we age, we naturally become hyper-aware of changes in our mental acuity. Think about that frustrating tip-of-the-tongue feeling when a word just escapes you. If you're in your 20s, you just brush it off, right? You were distracted. But in your 60s, that exact same moment rings a massive internal alarm bell. The text emphasizes that it's not about ignoring brain deterioration, it's about acknowledging it without the panic. That heightened alertness isn't a signal of defeat. Actually, it's the exact catalyst we need to mobilize our defenses and take action.
So let's talk about that action in Section 2, boosting your cognitive fitness and building your reserves.
The source uses this really vivid terminology to introduce the solution. It centers entirely on creating a building font of cognitive fitness and cognitive reserves. Think of a font in an architectural or even a geological sense. It's this deep, reliable, constantly renewing wellspring. What the text reveals is that by engaging in specific mental health exercises, we are actively filling up this reservoir. We're talking about neuroplasticity here. We aren't just doing random crossword puzzles to pass the time. We are deliberately constructing a cognitive buffer. By challenging our brains with novel, complex tasks, we literally build alternative neural pathways. So if one pathway degrades due to aging, our thoughts just effortlessly reroute across the new bridges we've built. That is the essence of this font. It's a strategic, structural defense system against future deterioration.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between two very different cognitive trajectories. On one side, you have the unprepared brain, which the text implies is highly vulnerable to natural deterioration as we age. Imagine a fragile building in an earthquake zone with absolutely no reinforced steel. When the shaking starts, the impact is going to be devastating. But on the flip side, we have the proactive approach: build cognitive reserves. Think about physical fitness for a second. If a frail person takes a fall, it could be a severe break. But if a highly physically fit person takes that exact same fall, they might just dust off a bruise. The brain works the exact same way. By using mental health exercises to boost cognitive fitness, you go from being a passive observer of aging to someone who is alert, heavily reinforced, and actively defending your capabilities.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, techniques to reduce deterioration and applying the exercises. Let's move to and see how this builds into a logical three-part journey from theory straight to neurological defense. Because this isn't abstract, it's highly actionable. Step 1 is acquisition. You have to actually learn various mental health exercises. We're talking about novel challenges, learning a new language, mastering an instrument, or tackling complex problem solving that forces your brain out of its comfort zone. Step 2 is integration, consistently using those exercises to successfully boost your cognitive fitness. This is where the physical thickening of those neural pathways happens, filling up that font we talked about. And finally, Step 3 is deployment. You apply these learned techniques to directly intervene in the aging process. As cognitive load increases over the years, your brain instinctively relies on these dense, newly forged connections to stay sharp.
So the crucial point is this: the ultimate goal here is to reduce the impact of the deterioration of the brain. Notice the careful phrasing from the text. It doesn't promise some magical cure that freezes time. Biology still exists. Neurons are still going to experience wear and tear. Instead, it offers something way more grounded and powerful: the ability to apply techniques that actively soften the blow. Think of your cognitive reserves like high-end shock absorbers on a car. They don't magically smooth out the bumpy road of aging, but they dramatically smooth out your ride. The deterioration might happen on a microscopic level, but the macroscopic impact, your ability to think, reason, remember, and thrive, remains largely untouched because your structural reserves just absorb the shock.
And this brings us to a final, incredibly empowering realization drawn straight from the source text. Through these modules and mental health exercises, you have the actual, tangible tools to architect an ageless mind. The techniques exist right now for you to build your font of cognitive fitness and significantly reduce the impact of brain deterioration. You are absolutely not at the mercy of time. You have immense agency over your own cognitive future. So the ultimate question I want to leave you with today as we wrap up this explainer is simply this: when will you start building your reserve? Take a moment to really think about that. Thank you so much for joining me in this deep dive today, and keep structurally reinforcing that brilliant mind of yours.